For joining us here. It is Tuesday, December the 30th. My name is Kasha Badurka.
And I'm Krissy Vann, in for Tom Reynolds. We'll have your traffic details coming up, but I don't know about you. I got out of bed this morning, and then I walked outside, and it was
colder. Yeah, welcome back to winter. I think that's the theme for today. And then we have some winter-like conditions to contend with, and we'll fill you in with all those details. But first, what's happening right now?
And unfortunately, I know we're heading toward our coldest day for New Year's Eve.
And that's probably why you're wearing the florals, right?
Yeah, see?
Yesterday, we were dressed in very spring-like clothes. We're in denial, and winter has really just begun. All right.
Thanks so much, Kasha. And for the drive, of course, a lot of you still on holiday, so we'll probably see yet again a lighter drive for you. But overall, we are seeing a couple more vehicles pop up on the road. It looks like that has all wrapped up. Coming up, we'll have your local forecast details. I'm like, are we done?
Go to theweathernetwork.com.
Hi, good morning. You're watching the Weather Network on this Tuesday, December the 30th. You know, it doesn't, during the week, around this time, it never necessarily feels like the weekdays that it is, but here we are, last Tuesday of the year, and it's getting to be pretty cold.
I know. It's one of those things, everyone's going to be dressed up so nicely, really across the country tomorrow for New Year's, and everyone's going to have to pile on the layers.
Yeah, it's going to be on the chilly side. In fact, tomorrow is your coldest day.
We will have your traffic coming up, but if you are traveling north of the city, there are some icy roads out there this morning.
That's right. Going to be.
Thanks so much for that, Kasha. And if you happen to be traveling into work today, we'll also have a check on the TTC and Go Transit. But first, let's send it to you, Kasha, with a little bit of our 2015 forecast.
Oh, yeah, and it really does have snow squalls in the forecast, I'm afraid.
Thanks so much for that, Kasha. Of course, the active weather and force of nature. Big story on the roads is really going to be the slick conditions north of the city. And Kasha will be coming up to explain why we're seeing that. 427 and a peak at the 400. But first, Kasha, you can explain why we're seeing those icy conditions on the roads.
Yeah, unfortunately, we do have quite the temperature gradient between the waters. That was Force of Nature. We'll have the full story broken down for you in Force of Nature Extended. My name is Kasha Badurka. I'm in for Emily Vukovic this morning.
And I'm Krissy Vann, in for Tom Reynolds. We'll have your traffic details coming up. And unfortunately, depending on where you're heading, maybe for New Year's Eve, there are some icy conditions on the roads.
Right. Even now, we're starting to see some snow squalls out there closer to cottage country. We'll get to those details. We're thinking
it's that time of year where I know these temperatures become our reality, but we had all of that mild air through the holidays.
It's true.
It's hard to transition.
It made us spoiled, that's for sure. And I mean, you were out there skating on the rinks, on the outside at Celebration Square. It was close to 10 degrees earlier that day, and you're still in your goose.
And you know what? I wouldn't really exactly call what I did skating. It was more like there weren't even boards to hold on to. That was the most terrifying part.
You did a great job. She did a great job. All right.
Thanks, Kasha. I like the cold cliffhanger there. Now, if you're heading out on the roads, well, you can see things in the green zone. Now, we'll take a little expanded look at that. But first, let's find out how long is that cold here to stay, Kasha? Thanks so much for that, Kasha. Of course, you saw the active weather there in your Force of Nature. Now, looking at the drive, we are seeing some slick conditions. If you're all good news on the roadways, but we could have a little bit of weather complicating things out there. I'll send it to you, Kasha, with the details.
All right, thanks.
Thanks so much, Kasha. And I do want to mention at theweathernetwork.com, we do have a highway conditions map so that you can be aware if your route is snow covered, longer delays on the Berry line. More details on that coming up, as well as more forecast details. I'm glad you mentioned that, Mike. Exactly that. North of the GTA, partially snow covered, a mechanical issue that they're working to get sorted out. Coming up, we'll join Kasha with your local forecast details.
Where you don't need winter gear is in the studio. Isn't that right, Kasha and Krissy?
That's right. Yeah. And meanwhile, did you say you were wearing two toques? Mike was wearing two toques, and I have to say, what a scientific way of measuring the snow.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
My big question is if he busted out the long johns today, because yesterday that was something that he was sadly missing out there.
That's right, and he'll be definitely needing them today. Our daytime highs, well, they're even cooler than they were yesterday, and tomorrow is going to be your coldest day this week, and we'll get to those details.
Well, we've been quite lucky in the GTA because we don't have any snow-covered roads and not seeing those icy conditions. So I'll have those details coming up. But first, with more forecast details, over to you, Kasha. Thanks so much, Kasia, with the active weather there in your force of nature. Now, here at home, the one thing that we are watching, they've been having a couple mechanical issues on your ride. So we'll have details on that coming up. And first, we'll join Kasia with those forecast details.
Yeah, thanks. Well, speaking of the roads, actually,
I'll send it inside to Kasia and Krissy.
yeah, a fair amount. And can I just say how endearing you look, so bundled up there. That's 2 toques he's wearing and his hood and the long johns. He was lamenting yesterday that he didn't have the long johns.
Exactly. And I think that next time we tune in, we might see him like Ben with the scarf wrapped over the head. It's hard, though, when you're standing out there. Sometimes when the wind is blowing, it's like hard to show expression on your face.
That's right. We feel his pain. We're outside a lot, too, for the show. All right.
You're absolutely right, Kasia. I mean, the main thing is north of the GTA where we are seeing those slick conditions. Had a couple of mechanical issues, and as a result, several train trips have been delayed. Now with those forecast details, diving into the nitty-gritty with Kasia.
Yeah. 2 words, lake effect. That's in our forecast for the next few days.
Thanks so much, Mike. Yeah, it's hard to believe. Start of a new year. We'll all be celebrating that tomorrow. Looking at the drive, if you slot that in, you may need a little bit of extra time. Now for our forecast details, let's send it over to you, Kasia. Thanks so much for that, Kasia. And perhaps people will be happy that they have a white New Year, since for most of us, we had a green Christmas. As well as delays on GO Transit, and we'll join Kasia with more details on your local forecast. Thanks for that, Mike. And that's exactly it. I know this time of year, you have to plan ahead for situations like that and all, but that has all cleared up. Now, coming up, Kasia will clear up those forecast details right here.
So, Kasia, Krissy, I want to know what you guys have planned. For myself, I just hope it's a little bit more exciting than my Christmas Eve when I sat home alone and ate a large pizza to myself.
I hope you're lying. That's really sad.
No, it's
but
true.
I certainly... Okay. Okay, well, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, I plan on being on the inside, and it's an ugly sweater party, so I'll be warm as well.
Yes, and for us, we're celebrating the Canada-U.S. game, the World Juniors, so we're in red plaid or the Canadian tuxedo, denim on denim.
So Canadian.
Yes.
All right, well, you're going to want to keep warm for today. You saw Mike there all bundled up.
There have, and some good news. We had one that was slowing things down just clear. One thing I do want to mention off the top, if you're traveling north of the GTA, you may. So the problem spots have pretty much cleared up unless it's GO Transit where we do have delays on the Barrie line. Those details coming up, but first, back to the weather story.
Yeah, and 2 words for the weather story for the next few days, lake effect.
Thanks so much for that, Kasia. Look at the active weather around the globe in your force of nature. As for things here at home, well, starting with the traffic, and that's on the Barrie line where they've had a couple mechanical problems there, so you can expect a delay. What can you expect in your forecast as we head into the new year? Well, Kasia has those details.
Well, in short, snow squalls. All right, that's right. Red sky in the morning. Sailors be warned.
I like your version.
You know what I meant. Grammar. Kasia Badurka with you here with poor grammar this morning. Red sky at night, sailor's delight.
And I'm Krissy Vann in for Tom Reynolds, hopefully with some good news for your roads coming up.
All right, let's talk about those temperatures.
Thanks so much, and I'm glad to share that things are actually moving quite well. If you're traveling north of the GTA, that's where you may encounter some slick roads, brighten up a little bit out there. But what's in store as we head into 2015, Kasia?
Well, we do have a winter storm on tap that we're looking at.
Thanks so much for that. And of course, Kasia will be coming up in the show with all your forecast details as we head into 2015. And one thing that she will be covering is the lake effect snow. And Kasia, I'm sure people will want to head south as we are seeing the evidence of winter now.
Oh, yeah, we've got the cooler temperatures upon us today into tomorrow as well.
Thanks so much for that, Kasia. Looking at the drive, still really lightly traveled out there. How things are doing on the major transit routes as well. We'll join Kasia with the local forecast.
And I'm actually working on getting the Weather Network to open up a Turks and Caicos bureau. What do you think about that?
I think that's fantastic. I think my New Year's resolution should be to eat more chocolate. All about having those attainable goals, right? Well, now coming up, we're going to be joined by Kasia Badurka. She'll have all the forecast details as we head in toward 2015.
Bundle up because Kasia and Krissy, it is going to be a cold New Year's Eve in Southern Ontario.
Oh, so true. It's going to be feeling like the -10, -12 degree mark. Kasia Badurka with you here.
With Krissy Vann in for Tom Reynolds. You know, we had those mild temperatures, and I know I always complain about the cold, but it is winter. It's to be expected.
Indeed. It's true. And you know, it's funny, that gentleman was talking about doing some skating. If you were with us on Christmas Day, Krissy went skating. She showed us her skills.
And by
You did a
skills, it
great
was
job.
more just like this. I was kind of
Yeah.
doing the penguin walk on skates.
Yeah, so
It's the
you
best I could
probably
do.
won't be doing that on New Year's Eve.
Well, we are seeing a problem spot on the 400 northbound and the DVP coming up. But first, with that forecast heading into 2015, Kasha. Thanks so much for that, Kasha. The active weather around the globe in force of nature. Now, some good news for the drive. Things have been pretty lightly traveled. All your local forecast details are coming up.
Thanks to Krissy. Yes, snow squalls. 2 words for our forecast for the next few days. Lake effect.